are you guys comfortable going into next year with a receiving core with Jared Goff's only weapons being Jameson Williams coming? I mean, which we still don't know everything about. St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Brock Wright.
Khalif Raymond and bringing
Khalif
the guys.
Raymond, right?
I would imagine that there's a possibility. Not a possibility. They will. They'll look at and explore a wide receiver in free agency, and they could explore it in the draft too, whichever they feel is the better option for them. But hold on. But to make the team better initially, to improve on the team from this year to next year, I mean, me personally, I'm not going to use a first-round pick on a wide receiver. I need to use it on defense.
The reason I framed that question the way I did is if you look at the potential free agents at the receiver position this year, there's really not much. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is potentially the best name on that list, and you don't know how much money he's going to ask for. Listen, Brett Holmes has proved he can find receivers in later rounds, but the kind of receiver that we need on this team, which is what I believe DJ Shark was supposed to be, a big body possession receiver, I feel like the perfect example is that guy out of TCU, Quentin Johnson, I believe his name is. You really can't. I feel declared. I mean, listen, I would also say, the type of receiver we need is what Quintez Cephas, I believe, could be. But where's that guy even at?
He's done. Why do you want a receiver so bad?
Because I think for Goff to be successful, he needs to have ample weapons around him.
Right.
He needs to have.
So if we look at this past year, and you weren't even that thrilled with DJ Chark. So with that, half a season of DJ Chark and with no season of Jameson Williams, they still had the fourth best offense in the league. And you think they need to add to that?
How much do you think they had the fourth best offense in the league because of their passing? You think that was because of Jared Goff?
I think it was a combination of Jared Goff throwing for almost 4,400 yards and the
Goff,
offense
Ben
running
Johnson,
for 2,100 yards.
The O-line giving him time, all of that.
Yeah.
Listen, he played way above my expectations, but I believe the reason he was able to play that way is because of how dominant the run game was, how dominant our offensive line was.
They weren't dominant, but they weren't dominant. So let me ask you this about the Lions were not dominant running the football.
What's a dominant run game?
Hold on, Jamal Williams broke Barry Sanders' record this year, and you're going to get out here
getting the ball, running it in from the 1 yard line every time, and getting 17 touchdowns. I loved it. I thought it was great, but it's not like Jamal Williams averaged 5 yards a carry.
I guess we have different opinions on what dominant is. I would say
What do you think is dominant when it comes to a rushing offense?
I would say breaking Barry Sanders' touchdown record would be a pretty dominant offensive rushing
attack. Is finishing 22nd in the league in rushing a dominant rushing attack?
What, for yards?
What yards per game?
What was better than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually. What is it? 12th? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10,
11th.
11th.
Right?
Is finishing 11th in the league a dominant rushing attack?
I would say it was dominant enough to open up Jared Goff's game. It was dominant enough to where it allowed Jared Goff.
Do you not like Jameson Williams?
No, he doesn't like Jared Goff.
Listen. I'm very high on Jameson Williams. I really want him to do good.
So if you're really high on Jameson Williams and you think he's going to be better than what we had last year, wouldn't that be an improvement over what we had last year?
I'm saying we don't know. How many catches did Jameson Williams have this year? One?
My point is that he hardly played at all. So next year you got a full season of Jameson Williams, and if you think he's going to be a big-time player, why would I need to go out and draft one in the first round?
Because we don't know, and he's coming off a major injury.
Well, there are players on this team.
It's in the past. It's over a year ago, that injury.
So he's good. So you're not worried about him?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It sounds like you don't even think he's going to compete.
Listen, I really hope he does. I want him to. What I'm trying to say is we don't know. We're going to base, we got Jameson. He made one catch this year. The offense is good.
I think there's a better chance, Drake, that Jameson Williams is an answer than some of the other guys that are on the roster are answers at their position. A. B is we don't need to rush the decision on a wide receiver. Free agency starts a month and a half before the draft. If DJ Chark and them come to terms, what you're talking about is eliminated. We do have a different definition of what a dominant rushing. I think the 11th best rushing attack in the league, yards per game rushing, is not a dominant rushing attack.
It's not.
It's a good rushing attack, but it's not a dominant rushing attack.
You look at the Bears at 177 yards a game. They led the league, and they're out of the playoffs. The Ravens had 160 yards a game. They're in the playoffs. 159.9 yards per game for Atlanta. Out of the playoffs. That's interesting. The Giants with 148 and Philadelphia with 147 are right behind there. Cleveland at 146.5, not in the playoffs. It's interesting how many teams that ran the ball well or dominantly missed the playoffs. It's not as important as throwing the football, which could be more ammunition for Drake's call there if they go for a wide receiver. I just think when you look at this team, offensively, that's not the problem. The problem is on the defensive side of the ball. If you would improve the defense, if this defense were middle of the pack last season, how many of those games they lost early in the year would have been wins? I mean, you get a couple of stops against Seattle, and get a couple stops against Philly, and you're in business.
Let me back up and just think about you, for instance, yesterday in that mock draft, we're looking at Brian Brise, the defensive tackle.
Yes.
Who has a better chance right now of being an answer at their position? Jamison Williams at wide receiver or Levi Onwuzurike at defensive tackle?
Jamison Williams.
Yeah. Who has a better chance? Jamison Williams at wide receiver or Amani Oruwariye at corner?
Jamison Williams.
I mean, Oruwariye's a free agent. How about Jamison Williams or Okudah at corner?
I would say Jamison Williams has a much higher ceiling.
So this is why I get it. We don't know for sure that Jamison Williams is going to be the answer, but I think we know more. I think we're more confident in him being the answer than some of those other guys.
Are you concerned about Jamison Williams getting hurt right now that the season's done?
Not as much, no.
I mean, I'm not. Are you, Kang?
No, not as much, for sure. I mean, he proved he only had one catch, but he was still running healthy as far as we know.
Played in 4 or 5 games, whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I don't think a first-round receiver is what this team needs. I do think that they do need to shore up the receiving position depending on what happens with Chark. You're going to have to.
I'm perfectly comfortable with them bringing back Chark at the right price.
But they do need to, because they're going to have 2 young receivers. You think St. Brown and Williams, right?
Yeah.
I like Khalif Raymond a lot in his role.
I do too.
And then Reynolds, he's not terrible, but he doesn't.
But he's familiar.
But he's easily replaced too. I mean, him and Chark, as long as you got to bring back some quality because of injury concerns for just in general, not because I'm concerned Williams' history, but guys get hurt in the NFL.
I feel like it's a little rough on the guy. I don't mean to be that rough on Drake.
He got pretty mad pretty quick.
He did, because I think it's his idea, and we shot it down quickly, and he was trying to defend it. Drafting a receiver, I'm not against drafting a receiver. If you're going to tell me they use one of the 6th-round picks on Jaden Reed, would I be okay with that? Not just because he's a Spartan, but because he's a really good receiver. Be fine with that. Or whoever receiver you want to throw out there, you want to use one on a 6th-round pick or, on a 3rd-round pick perhaps if somebody's there. If somebody slips and like if Hyatt, all of a sudden he's available to you, Hyatt from Tennessee, he's there in the 3rd round, am I going to pass on him? It's hard to pass on talent like that.
Yeah, because even Brad Holmes said at his end-of-season presser, they're not in the business of passing up on good players. So if a good player falls, you take him. I mean, what if you think the next St. Brown's there in the 4th round? They're probably going to take him.
Yeah, but in the 1st round, I'd have a hard time buying that the Lions are interested in a wide receiver in the 1st round. Even though they could land a great one.